I don't like that.
Ah,
I like dogs too.
okay, I'll call the meeting to order. There are 5 of us, 5 select board members here tonight. We have Clint Collmore on the phone. He's self-isolating at home. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. No public hearings tonight. We have no presentations this evening. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Are we going to speak on the number 2 tax payment? It was
Not tonight.
Not tonight?
No.
Okay,
We were going to do that after May 15th.
okay.
Yeah, that's next month.
Yep.
Did you want to bring the budget forward?
Yes, we can switch that item. Would you like to make a motion, Jan?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to switch the order of reviewing the June warrant and the budget discussion, so we'll have the budget discussion first. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That was a yes from Clint. Citizen comments, is there anything online? I guess we can come back to that in case he gets something from people in it.
Yeah, 'cause you gotta wait a little bit,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a delay.
Select board comments? Katie? Clint?
Yeah, well, I had a couple things, but one thing that just sort of touches home here a little bit. I really appreciate what the town is doing in coordination with the food pantry, that whole process. And it's just excellent. I've heard a lot of good comments about it. It's just excellent work, and I appreciate the efforts of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abden?
I'm all set.
Jan?
Well, I was watching TV the other night and I saw where New York City comes out at 7 o'clock, I believe. And they all applaud, and they're applauding all of the healthcare workers and hospital workers and so on. And it made me think about how nice it is to say thank you to people. Which brought me to thinking that it was about almost 30 years ago when I realized that I got to be not only a homemaker, but I got to be the carpenter and the plumber and the electrician and all those other things in my home. And at that time, not knowing a whole lot about those things, I lived close to Bear Hill Hardware, and I would take my lamp that needed rewiring, and I at times walked it down, and Ralph Johnson taught me how to do all kinds of things. He taught me how to change the guts in the toilet, and he taught me how to rewire a lamp, and he taught me what kind of paint to get and when and where to use it. And I don't think I ever really thanked him for that. But it made me think about right here in Waldoboro, in our community, we too have those people who take care of others. And that's probably 27, 28 years ago that happened. And I still, if I need advice, I still go down and see Ralph. So I would just like to applaud Bear Hill Hardware, Ralph, and all the other people in Waldoboro who do those same kinds of things to help our community.
Very nice. Thank you. I just had a couple things. A reminder that voting day's been moved to Tuesday, July 14th. The Buck Tussle Annex is now announcing free Wi-Fi in the area that surrounds it. So you've got a Wi-Fi, call it a pod, down by the Buck Tussle Annex, which is located at Jefferson and Main Street, and also, of course, at the library.
And here.
Sorry?
And here.
And here at the town office, yep. I'll request that we support our local businesses, kind of segue onto what Jan just talked about, and to observe their self-distancing protocols to protect others, not just yourself. But things are going to begin at some point, I think within the next 30 days or so, loosening up a little bit, phase in, getting life back to normal, and I think we need to respect the process and do what the businesses ask us to do to make it easier for everybody. I watched another webinar today. Did you watch the one about broadband, Max?
From Island Institute?
Yes,
Yes. And so did Ruben.
okay. That may be something the Communications and Technology Committee may want to address at some point. And anyway, Ruben knows about it, and he watched the presentation. And then there was a requested update on Chapel Road, and my understanding is that we can't do anything because CMP is basically dormant. They're not out there allowing anybody to do make-ready.
Well, my understanding is, and here, this is where we are with Chapel. So Chapel is complicated because we did the franchise agreement and then COVID came. So they're very reticent to sign anything because we don't know what's going on, and we put in there the October 31st date.
Right.
So they're like, if we sign it and for some reason CMP can't make ready, or, you know, we get the second wave, or, and I see their point, but that's not gonna make Chapel Road residents happy. So I think we have to realize that we either rescind the agreement, like, you know, and say, if you don't sign it, then we don't, and we pursue other ways to get it done. But I see both sides of it. It was a timing issue of signing it.
Mhm.
Not
Well,
that that makes anybody happy.
And going somewhere else isn't necessarily gonna solve the problem.
Right, because,
whoever does it is gonna have the same issue that Spectrum is having.
right. And, you know, for all you know, maybe CMP could get out there. But
Yeah.
it's the unknown, so why sign something that you know you're gonna default on and then have to enforce? And so I see both sides of this very clearly, but I don't know what the good answer is. So I think this deserves some time on the next agenda.
Okay,
But we're all dealing with these weird things that we never dealt with before. So,
You're darn right about that.
yep. It's fair.
town manager's report.
Well, to dovetail off of what Clint said, we had our second drive-through food pantry event with the Waldeboro Food Pantry. And
You said 78.
we had 79 families that we served today. 18 of those
Wow.
families are, 18, Clint, of those families are new families
Yeah.
that had not visited the pantry before. That's a big number.
That's 30%.
So I have to tell you the story. I was there with Nancy, and a woman pulled up in a car, and she started crying. So thankful that people were there. And then I got to give a shout out to a couple of places. Rising Tide and Salty Boys made 101 hot meals to hand out today.
Wow.
It was beef stew with a little roll in it. And when I took her beef stew with her little roll, she started crying again, and social distancing rules did not apply because she grabbed my gloved hand and said, "God bless you," and got me a little teary-eyed. She goes, "You just don't know what this means." And I think that's part of, and I said this last week or last time, and I'll keep saying is, people are scared of the future, and the economic uncertainty doesn't help, and we're experiencing a lot of flux. As you know, Chief John Lash was scheduled to be here if we were still doing department head meetings, and I said, "Is there anything you want me to let the select board know?" And what he said to me was, "I want them to know that we are extremely busy. You may not see us doing traffic stops, but we are extremely busy. Their call volume has just skyrocketed. And there are a lot of mental health calls that people have to be aware of. There's a lot of domestic violence calls, harassment calls. So we just have to be aware that mental health, number one, is extremely important. And there is help for that. And anybody who needs help out there, 211, if you dial that, you can find resources that are available. But that's the one basic thing that he wanted us to know is, they are doing limited enforcement with traffic and things like that, but you're not seeing the lights like you were on Route 1 because they're so busy on actual calls for service. So just be aware of that. That's the one thing you wanted me to pass on. And on a happy note, we've gone through the list. If we haven't called you, we need your number. It doesn't mean we didn't want to call you, because we called everybody. It means that we don't have your number. So just saying I don't get a call and not giving us your number, you're still not going to get a call if I don't have your phone number. So reach out and touch someone. Reach out,
Well,
call up and just say
Don't
hi.
touch them for
Well,
social distancing.
Because of social distancing, you have to use the phone to touch someone. And you are much too young to remember. That was like the Ma Bell. Does everybody
That's right.
remember that? Reach out.
and touch someone, yeah.
Reach out and touch someone. Call
It
up
was
and
a
just say hi.
figurative touch, not a
Right.
literal
All
touch.
wrote
I'm
that.
more used to the Neil Diamond.
Yeah,
Reach
I-
out, touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we just have to be aware that if you didn't get a call, call us and give us your phone number, and we will be more than happy to update our lists.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for all that work you put in this week on that food pantry thing.
It was, I
Along
have to
with-
tell you,
Along with Lou Cook and Nancy Lipper and Wanda Collimore and Pam Edwards, everybody really pulled together. Our fire, EMS, police, they all worked together to make this thing work.
I will tell you, the one thing that happened this morning was there was a very nice ballet. Jan was there, she witnessed it, but I had EMS, I had police and fire department members, and we packed bags, and Jan helped pack bags, and it was just really well done. And when it moved over to the fire bays and we put it all out, it was a lot of food. We gave a lot of food away today. And I want to give a couple of other shout outs too. Main Street Grocery has been phenomenal. We have also done business with
Bowden eggs.
Bowden Egg Farm. They were wonderful. Hannaford provided the milk today. We bought milk from Hannaford, but Broad Bay Church, their generosity has been over the top. And every week they show up with gift cards, and that's just been absolutely wonderful. Long Winter Soap donated soap today for our
Wow.
event. So many nice people are doing nice things, and I know I'm forgetting somebody, but on Facebook I will make sure I'm perfect, because I did write a list up. But it's just been incredibly heartwarming.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We move on? The consent
Oh,
calendar?
I was about to.
Sorry.
Did I miss citizens' comments?
Yes, you missed. Did you want to say something?
No, I just have Ruben in the chat.
Does
First
he
of
have
all-
something to say?
First of all, he just said he loves his town for everything that's just recently happened with everything that's been conducted. The other comments regarding broadband, the Island Institute one, for example, saying that broadband has become a very big necessity in the 21st century. It's sort of like running water, electricity. Many people, especially now, really need it. So definitely this is something that CTC will look at.
Good.
And he asked for the franchise agreement for future consideration on a franchise agreement. Is it possible to add wording about states of emergency placing due dates on hold? I think it makes sense that we would need to be flexible.
Good point. Good point.
And I think that then addresses the issue of this really was out of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I
We
will run
can-
that
we-
up the flagpole.
There's a nice article in the Main City, Town and City about Bremen and another place getting broadband. That was in, and they
Yep.
talked about the Island Institute in there also.
They need it down there. They really do.
Yeah.
Well, they're working on it.
I can tell you, you can leave the lower end of Bremen and not get any reception until you get to West Waldeboro.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty bad.
You can also go down sections of Friendship Road,
Oh, yeah, I know,
yeah, and not have anything.
right?
So we still have some work to do too.
People talking on there while
And
they're
not to
driving.
mention the other areas that are unserved or underserved.
Thomas's Hill.
Yeah. Any more comments from the public?
No, but I will make sure to tell you if I get any comments in the
Okay.
chat.
Thank you. Consent calendar, is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept?
Sorry.
Is that a second, Clint?
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
We're all times delayed here.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, including Clint. New business, budget discussion.
Woohoo! Oh. All right, guys. So here's the deal with the budget. So here's what we've done. Last week we got notified by the state treasurer that we should expect that our last payment for May, June, July will be significantly lower than anticipated. We then were told in the same memo that the following payments will also be significantly lower. Now, what that means, nobody knows. I watched the governor talk about the financial planning yesterday and the forecasting that's going to be going on. So if I had a crystal ball, I'd love to tell you I think it's all going to be okay, but I am not sure. So we need to look at the budget. And currently what we're experiencing is we're going to have a loss in revenue sharing. We're also going to have a reduction in revenue from our EMS service. And that is a number that we anticipate significantly in our budget, a significant amount. And then we're also going to have a loss of, well, for right now, BMV fees and things like that. So that's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts, and the economy drives a good portion of those. So they did say in that same memo that we would expect the July payment, which will be significantly lower, that it'll be basically based on sales and use tax, because by the time the people's income tax are due, they extended the date, so there's going to be problems with that. I'm asked consistently about, well, there should be some help coming from the federal government. I don't anticipate direct funding from the federal government to towns and towns, but I do expect it to go to the state, and then that's a state issue of how they distribute it. Will they distribute it? So that's something that we should probably stay on top of with our representatives and our senators. So that being said, with the revenue coming down, we've got to make some adjustments in this year's budget, the current budget that we're in, 2020. So to that effect, I did make, and just so it's transparent, I did make reductions in hours to non-essential staff, to be honest with you. I tried to do it. I didn't make across-the-board cuts. I looked at each individual position, and I made the best decisions that I could. So everybody experienced a reduction in hours of some type, and some of them are different from one individual to another based on their job duties. I did not reduce my hours, but I do not anticipate, and I'd like to, for you guys to make the decision if you want to reduce my hours. But I do not feel it is appropriate at this time for me to take my May 1 increase that you put into my contract. I don't feel that would be appropriate for me to do in this climate. So I don't know if you guys want to consider an hour reduction. I'm open to that. If you feel the necessity, I'll still be here over 40 hours, but
Put in a lot more time than that.
I have, but I can't take my contractual increase, so I'm hereby publicly absolving you of that until we can afford it. We did move our recreation director into Public Works because Public Works needed the help because they had a vacant position. What I just explained about the police, essential services have to they're essential for a reason, and we have to maintain those. We do need to schedule a meeting with the budget committee and the select board in the next 2 weeks, if we could. I sent a letter out to all of you in the budget committee.
Did you suggest a date?
I said the first 2 weeks in May, and I suggested that we have it in, we pull out one of the ambulances and have it in the bay, or we could sit outside and have it.
I like the outdoors thing, that's what
I kind of thought it would be a unique, very Waldeboro-esque thing to do.
we could always wrestle or something too, I don't know.
That's a
Just-
guy thing.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what he said. I think we need to do that because and I'll be honest, I mean, we're gonna have to cut significantly. We're gonna have to review all the revenues. Peg and I have already started this. I'll have suggested places to cut and adjust, but I think we're in it, and one of my most interesting questions that I'm asking people when I run into them now is, and I tried to do it at the food pantry today to some degree, will you change? What I think EMS is not going to change. People are still going to need to go to the hospital. Police isn't going to change. There's still public works that need to be done. But how will the town office look? And what should it look like? I think we've learned now that a lot of things can be done online. That brings me to rapid renewal, because with a reduction in hours, which I think will probably carry on into the next budget, we need to take better advantage of online tools that we have.
Absolutely.
And I think that people aren't going to be as willing, whether we're still at a stay at home by May 31st. I don't think people are going to rush to come out. So I think we have to make that available. So that will be a discussion we'll need to have, because I know that's a loss in agent fees, but you're trying to balance it. I just don't know how much people are going to want to, we used to get a lot of visits, and I don't know what that will look like in the future.
Yep.
But we need to work a little bit differently and take advantage of how we do things, streamline processes. And that's complicated because we're used to it. And like I said, Peg and I had a discussion today about, I take great pride in the fact that we are open typically in normal circumstances from 7:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, 5 days a week. That schedule might have to change. There's things we might have to change about that. We might not be able to have a human on the phone every single time we call. You might have to go through the phone tree. And I think that the residents understand that. But something was pointed out to me this morning by a couple of different people. I don't think people realize we've been here the whole time.
Well, some people have assumed you make those calls, they think we're closed.
Right. But we have been here. We have been here the entire time. We didn't miss a day, except for that big snowstorm. But we've been here the whole time doing work. And we've continued to serve the residents, albeit in different roles. I mean, obviously Peg's picked up stuff she didn't think she'd do. I've picked up stuff I didn't think I'd ever be doing. But it's been good work, and, we just have to, it's tough. It's going to be really tough. And I think the one thing too that we have to work on is communicating with our counterparts at the school, and the county.
Yeah.
The school and the county to say, hey, we're all in this together, because the school's going to have to make cuts, the county's going to have to make cuts,
Yep.
We're going to have to rethink how we do things. And I'm fearful that if nobody else makes cuts, everybody's going to look at us and say, you have to make cuts, and we can't fall victim to that. We have to be very vocal about this all has to happen in conjunction with each other. So if we could pick a date that I could give.
I'm looking at Wednesday the 6th. Is that too late? Could we do it sooner than that?
No, Wednesday the 6th is fine.
And do you want to
May
do an
6th?
afternoon meeting or an evening meeting or a morning meeting?
Afternoon probably better.
Yeah, you'd like to go, yeah, okay. Say what, about 3 o'clock, Clint?
That would work good for me.
It wouldn't work for some of the budget committees, people that work.
Yeah, some of the budget committee members work. I know Bill,
Maybe they don't in this situation, but
is Bill Maxwell, guy?
He's on until 3 o'clock.
Could they call in for the meeting?
Yeah, yes, but can we make it like a 4
4
o'clock?
o'clock?
and see how that, we'll give them the option. How about a 4 or 5 stars?
Okay. How's that work for you, Clint?
I can try, yeah, okay.
Okay?
Ruben actually has a question.
Yes?
Has the due date for property taxes changed?
No?
No,
No, it is
not yet.
Okay.
And it probably will not be a due date change. It will most likely be something that
We're trying to see what
we're
happens.
trying to see what happens.
It's important that people who are able pay their taxes. We need the cash flow. It's all about
Yeah,
cash flow
yeah.
now.
Yeah, we do need the cash
It's about
flow.
cash flow.
So what was you gonna do, Bob? Was you gonna have them like 4 or 5 o'clock and ask them what works, or?
We'll schedule 4 and see what people come back with, and if we have to change it to 5, we'll do it.
Okay, gotcha.
May 6th?
May
May 6th.
6th,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yep.
And we're open to ideas, you know, I mean, and I think that's part of it. One of the things I talked to Marcus about today, and it was because of one thing I got definitely when I finally got back to the office and sat with Peg for a little bit. I think we need to figure out, will there be a rec season? Will
Right.
there be a recreation program? And I think the best way to do that, and I mentioned it to Marcus, was let's put it out on Facebook. If you were to send your children, are you, if we have a summer rec program, would you even send your child? Because I'm not sure what that will look like. So I think we need to be proactive and get that engagement back. So that we know, is that something that parents are going to be willing to do? I'm not, and I said this to Peg, I'm not willing to put 60 seniors on a bus in October and send them off. So I think we can say that wouldn't happen. I know that there's a lot of pressure all over the United States about having
Gatherings.
baseball,
Yeah.
Little League and
Sporting
things like
events.
and things like that. And I haven't seen the guidance on that, but again, you know, we have to look at all of those issues. So, I will have recommendations for you. I will give them to you as soon as I have them. If you have questions or if you have suggestions, you know, I think we are pretty safe to say Johnny will probably be running sand for another year. You know, and just some things that won't happen. And I just want to point out, it's not just me that's been thinking about it, and we did put a spending freeze in, but this morning I had the fire chief come and say, hey, I've got some ideas. Right away, as soon as my memo went out, Richard Lash walked over, I got an idea. John Lash walked over, I got an idea. And that's really good stuff. And I have to just give a shout out. Our employees have been incredibly understanding, even through the most difficult times, about, you know, I cut people's hours and they completely understood. They didn't like it, but they understood why. And I tried to be as honest as I possibly could with everybody, and even to go into the future and say, you know, here's where we're at right now, and I don't know what the future holds, but here's what I can anticipate. And sometimes the news wasn't good, but it had to be said, because I don't want people getting a false sense of security, and I don't want to ring the panic bell, but the economy is hurting, our people are hurting. And I've found frustration in that sometimes I don't think that message has gotten through to some of the people it's needed to get through to. Not sitting at, absolutely not at our level, but we definitely have to be prepared that this isn't, and on the seminar we watched today, there were 2 different trains of thought. That it was it'll just be a year, it'll bounce back, and then it was, it's gonna be a little bit longer. So I don't have a crystal ball, but we have to be fiscally responsible.
One thing that did come out of that seminar that I found intriguing was the idea that if you have a capital spending program and can do it,
Do it.
now's the time to do
Right.
it. Because
If you're
bids are-
brave, he
bids
said
are-
if you were brave. because
yeah,
it's
bids
still-
are highly
it's a
competitive,
risk, it's a
prices
cash
are
flow
down,
risk.
And if you're financing it, you're not gonna get cheaper money
Yeah.
than you will
It's cheap
today.
right now.
So that's something we do need to. look
Well,
at.
if you're financing it, I think you're much safer than if you're just gonna float your own.
Right,
I think there's two totally different schools of thought on that. And if you're, I'm not willing to finance it on our own, but I might be willing to borrow at a percent.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion we have to have. But at the same token, those are things we have to really consider because those are expenses. And that's,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at. And, you know, we know there probably won't be a new car here or something's gonna have to go there. The problem is somebody like Public Works went along too long like that, so we also can't get far behind, so.
on the other plus side, they just talk about, medical expenses. I mean, people aren't going to see the doctor, they're not going to the hospital, they can't. And so that has a positive impact on our expenses.
Not in our town.
No,
No, because I'm using my ambulance revenue, the EMS revenue.
but it offsets that somewhat.
In
I
the
mean, there's-
seminar that we went to, they were, one of the, like,
Well, it doesn't,
comments was that health insurance could actually show a decrease in premium costs because
oh,
people
okay.
are
Right,
putting this off, they're putting that off, they're really looking at what's important and what can wait, or what, you know. So that was my takeaway.
that's where that came from.
Yeah,
yeah.
because the premiums could be lower next year this time.
It's probably gonna be dimes and quarters, not dollars and twenties.
I don't know, I don't think they're gonna refund our money or give us a break, I don't know.
I don't think we can bet on it. I agree.
I don't know.
That's,
My car insurance is giving us a rebate because we're not out on the road,
Good.
and there's less people on the road, there's less accidents, and they're gonna rebate us on our next bill.
Do you have USAA?
Yes.
yeah, there's a bunch of them doing that.
They're always good that way.
Yeah, I have Geico, they're doing the same thing.
Yep,
I don't have either of those and I'm not getting reimbursed, but I'm still
don't
not paying
either
the
anymore.
premiums I paid in New Jersey, so I'm not complaining.
Well, I'm not getting reimbursed, but they'll be cutting the next quarter amounts, whatever, so.
anything else on the budget?
So, Julie, do you want us to go through this and think about stuff and write it down, or what?
Yeah, if you could email me if you can think of places
Okay.
to cut or new revenue
I
to
mean,
be
like,
found.
I was just looking here a little bit, I mean, we're not having Walter Day, and, you know,
Right.
money there and stuff, but, yeah, okay. Good enough.
Groundhog.
There's a groundhog.
Oh,
It's a couple months late.
Just saw a groundhog out the window, Clint.
No,
Yeah, he's
well,
looking for a
Charlie
garden.
doing
Don't want to get
something.
two at my
Weeks
house.
of COVID.
No, on you.
No,
Well-
That was good.
no, it's in the truck.
So this kind of segues into the next topic, which is the June warrant, which is really all about the
Is that a
budget.
wood-
The June warrant is really all about the budget and we're not going
And we're
to,
not done with it.
we've gotta
I mean,
wait.
There's no point going over it at this point because it is gonna change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The next day.
So,
What's our date for the public hearing on the warrant? Or now that the,
Well, we don't, the June 14th, it would
No, I've seen
It
one
would
more.
be, I mean,
It's
July
July
14th.
14th.
July 14th, I
Right,
gotta
a
keep
little
saying
that's
bit
that.
in
changed.
June or third week of June, is it 2 weeks prior?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. It's, hold on.
Well, if we're gonna talk about the budget, then I think we ought to hold off on this, don't we?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
I had my schedule in here. I don't know what I did with it. Hold on.
So I'm guessing we'd have to have
The public hearing was on, it's about a month ahead of time.
So June
So we'd have to have it around June.
23rd, well, June 14th, June 16th would be,
Yeah, I'll have to check that to
Okay.
make sure that
so
we're
we have
right.
we have some
so
time
we
to
got a little time
revise
to
the
do
budget.
that, yeah.
Mhm.
And the other point they made at that seminar was this is a moving target. I mean, this isn't the first revision they're gonna have to
Yeah.
make going forward. It's gonna, as things evolve, it's gonna change, and there's nothing we can do about it, other than deal with it as best we can.
And my goal here is to not deplete our fund balance.
Yep.
We may have to consider, I mean, I think, and that's, as revenue increases and what we see happens, I will be able to better tell you, you know, I know other towns are considering some TANs. I don't know if that's something, tax anticipation notes. but we've got to look at all of those things, and sometimes a tan isn't a horrible thing, so
Right.
we have to really look at that, and that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
So, oh, and we should find out, we put in a coastal communities grant application. All the grants that we're still applying for grants. We're still applying for grants. We're still doing all of those things, so.
One of them was canceled, right?
Right, we got word from the person who runs the boating facilities fund that
Right.
unfortunately they have to not proceed with that grant this year. We were gonna use that fund to pay, I think, 75% of redoing Dutch Neck Marine Park. But unfortunately, with everything that's happened, they've had to put that on hold, so we won't apply until next year for that.
And we might see more of that, but we are still, work is being done. We are working on many things, so.
Question on the budget, though, the school's budget, are they, has anyone spoken to them?
Well, we need to find a way of getting them together with the county to have a conversation.
We need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
They
went through
had a
the whole
budget,
cycle, though,
they
right?
had
Yeah.
they had a meeting, I think it was last week, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was last week.
I think yeah, they had, I read something about it.
Yeah, so, we just have to have a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I reached out, I'm just waiting for the reply. And I think when we go over it, like AOC Animal Control Service, I mean, there's things that, and we're gonna have to, Peg and I also have to talk to them about their payment schedule and things like that, because,
But at the county level?
yeah,
Yeah, I think you approved a 6-pay,
right,
and that would cross fiscal years.
it's crossing fiscal
If we
years.
did a 4-pay, we could do it in next fiscal year, or we could keep the 6-pay and have 2 prepaid, 2 or 3 months that would actually be prepaid. with
But
the
they've
county.
gotta
That's
be having the
something
same
we'll have to think about.
conversation we're having now. They have to
Yeah.
be looking at
So-
Yeah,
their budget.
they have
If
to.
they're not, they're not doing their job.
If we didn't have a cash flow issue, I wouldn't mind doing the prepay option, but I just kind of feel like we might need to change the
Yeah,
the agreement.
we're trying.
Okay.
So, do you guys have any issue if I look into the rapid renewal? I think we're at that point where I have to look about.
I absolutely support it. I think it's a good idea.
Is that a motion, Clint?
Yes, it is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
What is it?
Rapid renewal of your
Registrations
registration,
online.
Oh, okay,
paying
okay,
the excise tax and so
Okay.
forth.
okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5, including Clint.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We, agenda for next, meeting,
Yeah, what do we want to talk about at the next
Chapel
meeting?
Road connectivity, and meeting with the budget committee.
Well, the next
That'll be-
meeting will
yeah.
be
Before.
before the meeting with the budget
Okay.
committee. But review budget committee meeting.
Yep. Make a
And if
mo-
anybody wants to donate to the food pantry, you can drop your donations off here at the town office.
May I make another little insert here? It's becoming almost gardening time. We're starting to get our gardens together, our veggie
Yeah.
gardens. And I would like to propose that everyone that has a garden that they're going to be maintaining this summer for themselves, to plant an extra row for the food club, for the food bank. Whatever it is, whether it's,
Plant an extra row.
yes, plant a row for the food bank. That would be my challenge to everybody here in Waldeboro.
I'll take you on, Katie.
Pardon me?
I'll take you on. That's a good one.
Take me, okay,
Yeah. I got it
Nice
happening.
taking a challenge.
yes. I was just trying to come back with a smart ass.
Well,
Thing.
go ahead then.
Bring it
Got
on,
a green
Clint,
thumb,
bring
he
it
should
on.
be planting some stuff.
Make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
So long,
All
Ruben.
in favor?
Farewell.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Clint.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Clint.
you. Bye.
I'll get it.
Are we off?